morning to you. There was a big moon last night, which actually woke me up. It was that bright, and I wondered if there was some kind of, celestial light shining upon us, which was going to give us some kind of new way out of this horrendous government we've got.
I think probably they needed that to put the bat signal. We need Batman right now to help us out of this crisis, I think.
It's true.
We've tried everything else.
Well, we tried the emergency signal, but that didn't work either.
Yeah, 3 p.m. yesterday, we were all supposed to have this emergency alert for the national emergency test, and 4 o'clock, I thought, when is this thing coming through? I didn't realize. I never got it. I don't think you got it either.
I didn't get it, no.
I mean, you can understand if you're in Japan and there's a tsunami arriving. When you're in central London, I'm not pretty sure what the emergency will be, or there'll probably be gangs of youth running towards me or something.
Maybe they can play the next time a tube train actually runs. And they could go, if you want to catch the 10:09 from, Tottenham Court Road on the Central Line, here's an alert for you, because otherwise you won't see one. It is ridiculous, isn't it? What should we start with? Should we start with migrants and Shabana Mahmood? Because it seems to be ridiculous that they've almost, they talk about resetting government. My sort of explanation for everything on Friday was that I predicted that Angela Rayner would resign probably around about midday, which is pretty much exactly what she did. But then they obviously went into panic mode and thought, hang on a minute, if we don't do something else, all the papers will be full of is Angela Rayner's misdeeds and in more detail about exactly what she did and when she did it and what she knew. Like, for example, the upping or the inflating of the house price that she has in Ashton-under-Lyne, so that she can get more money out of it to put down on another flat. So instead, they come up with this sort of meaningless, pointless reshuffle, moving, chess pieces around on a board. For what reason?
Well, I think deck chairs on the Titanic is actually what they were trying to rearrange. I mean, there was, what else could he do at that moment? He needed to try to get the news agenda changed. You're quite right.
Yeah.
So we got these meaningless changes around. At this rate, we're going to be at phase 30 by Christmas. I think. And the way things are going.
Yeah. It's a bit like watching a rugby union international, isn't it? When they're going on 15th phase of ball now, and we're not actually making any progress. We're just going across a sort of a horizontal straight line.
But it's so absurd to see Shabana Mahmood now talking about having discussions about what to do about the boats.
Right.
They spent all those years in opposition saying, we have the plan, smash the gangs, we know exactly what to do. They've been in government for ages now, and we were told that they were on top of everything.
Yeah.
New deals with France and so forth. So why is there now this urgent need to look into this once again?
Yeah.
Because obviously, as we said from the outset, they haven't got a clue how to stop the boats.
They haven't, of course not. But they've been working on it now for more than a year. Let's see what Yvette Cooper's last statement was when she was Home Secretary.
We'll provide regular updates for the public at every stage. That's why I'm confirming today that the pilot has now started, and the first migrants who arrived on the small boat are now in detention. The transfers to immigration removal centres are underway as we speak, so we won't provide operational details at this point that criminal gangs can simply use and exploit.
Yeah, that was from the 7th of August, right? Since then, there have been precisely no updates. No one has been returned, no one has been deported, no one has gone back to France. And the only updates we've now got from Yvette Cooper is that she's not doing the job anymore.
Well, they're calling it irregular migration, so we're getting irregular updates.
Irregular updates, yeah. Well, as I always say, it was actually pointed out to me that the Halley's Comet actually comes around on a regular basis, just not very often. Yeah. So it might be that's what she meant.
Once every 76
years, exactly. Yeah. But no, she's put any tweets out since the beginning of August 7th, and now she's got her sort of timeline is full of people wishing her congratulations, from Anthony Tajani, who I think is the Italian foreign minister, Andrea Schibbel, Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Ukraine, all congratulating her for getting a great job. She hasn't actually done anything yet.
Well, she hasn't done anything in any of the roles she's ever had. No. It's one of those people that you think, why on earth are they still here? We thought we saw the last of her under Tony Blair, and she still manages to pop back up again. It was her husband, Ed Balls. You said that you predicted Angela Rayner was going to resign.
Yeah.
He has a podcast with George Osborne, and why anybody would want to listen to them? I mean, even
God.
more boring than watching Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell. But they came out, we predict, George Osborne, Ed Balls, we predict Angela Rayner will not resign.
Of course.
Next day, she resigned.
This is the thing. I mean, I was up at the Reform Conference at the weekend, and I was saying to people, these so-called, political big beasts, these people who have been in high levels of government, they supposedly know their way around Whitehall, Westminster, they get everything wrong.
Exactly.
Because they have no clue what's going on outside their little bubble world.
They have no clue, no instinct. And also, Yvette Cooper's going to be in hot water now with the Americans, because now things are emerging about what she said about Donald Trump in his first run for president.
Yes.
And, of course, Lammy had to tread those waters very delicately.
He did.
And now, just before a state visit from Trump, we have Yvette Cooper now having to obviously make amends for what she said in the past.
Well, I think we should have a little run through some of these new appointments. Let's have a look at David Lammy, because he's now in the Ministry of Justice, which means that he'll have a bit more to do with policing the streets of this country.
If it feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished, it's not around you. We haven't seen a police while I've been here, and I've been here for a little while now.
You can't make this stuff up, can you? There he is, going on about how you don't see any police, and there's one literally standing behind him.
I don't know what's better, this one or his mastermind appearance. It's like there's a shuffling of riches here. Which
this is the thing. And I mean, the great thing about the mastermind appearance was that the only questions that he didn't get wrong were the ones that he passed on. You know,
one of which was the answer was passed.
Yeah,
probably,
absolutely right. Let's have a look at what some of our other, esteemed pundits in the same business as us have to say. This is Andrew Marr on Question Time, the first Question Time I think after the election win last year.
I think just having a stable government that will be there for 5, maybe 10 years, who knows, but with sort of ordinary, down-to-earth, serious people talking like the rest of us in charge of the government, and a plan that doesn't shift very much for investment, is going to mean a wall of money coming into this country from around the world. You look at the chaos going on the continent, particularly in France. You look at the chaos likely ahead in the United States. And suddenly, for once, for the first time in many of our lives, actually Britain looks like a little haven of peace and stability.
That's brilliant, isn't it? So where is this wall of money? There's a wall of money going out of the country, isn't there?
It's the cringe factor of all these people now. Anna Soubry as well, all looking forward to the new Red Dawn under Labour, and has come back to bite them royally. I mean, it just goes to show you that these people are yesterday's people. They have no clue about
where the British...
There's
no point in listening to them.
No, there's no point, they're useless.
No point in listening to them. One piece of good news, however, it's on page 4 of The Sun. Scores of overseas aid projects costing taxpayers tens of millions have finally been axed, according to ministers who are going to announce it today. The Department of Foreign Affairs has begun culling programmes, right? Now, you might be worried about this because one of the first programmes that's going to be killed is a £3.9 million scheme to boost climate resilience and low-carbon development in Iraq.
Well, I'm so pleased about that, because that's the one thing, when you ask Iraqis what their key priorities in life are, it's not basically safety or putting a meal on the table, but there's also a £95 million initiative to boost welfare in Jordan. And the best thing of all is a £120 million pledge to support Pakistani government improving education. I mean, for heaven's sake, we are no longer a charity. We have to stop this. We have to look after our own people, and it seems quite fair that when we're trying to increase defence spending, we take money away from these ridiculous projects like this. I'm just glad. I don't think we're funding the Indian space project any longer. No. I think that's gone.
Thank goodness for that. You know, now we're offering people in India the chance to come and work in Britain and pay a slightly lower national insurance contributions than the rest of us, which of course they think is going to suddenly boost our economy. What it's not going to do is help Britain's economy, but it may well help India's economy. Let's go back to Shabana Mahmood, though, because in the front page of the Sun and many other papers, 1,097 migrants in one day came on small boats on Saturday alone, her first official day in the job. The Sun have got as part of their broken borders scenario. Good luck with the new job, Shabana, and they're spread on pages 8 and 9. Where we've also got a Romanian people smuggler who apparently tried to dodge being booted out of Britain by claiming he was in talks to play for Manchester City. You can't make it up, honestly. It just gets funnier by the day.
If you don't laugh, you cry, so you have to laugh, right, for comic relief. But it is absolutely insane. And look, how many years... It's one thing if this was a new phenomenon that just happened this summer. This is every single summer this happens. You just despair. You know, you were at the Reform Conference. At least there you got decent policies out now on migration. And what's amazing is to see how quickly now Labour are trying to park their tanks on Reform's lawn. They're now talking about using military camps. They won't use the word camp, though, because apparently camp is reminiscent of concentration camps.
Oh, right, so they can't be having that.
Tell that to the people who are going to Butlins holiday camp every year.
Right, exactly, Pontins. But, well, this is it. The front page of the I paper, they've got migrant hotel closures to be fast-tracked as Starmer faces Labour unrest. Well, it's all very well fast-tracking the closure of hotels, but they actually fought a legal battle to keep the Epping Bell Hotel open. despite the fact that the locals, and I met some of the locals, and I met a lot of amazing people up at Reform Conference this week, all of whom watch Talk, all of whom love Morning Glory and all the other shows, and they say, look, without you guys, we wouldn't have anything to listen to, you know, and they were talking about in Epping, you know, we're not going to stop. We are not going to stop until they close the Bell Hotel down and move the people out of there, because let's face it, the guy who was convicted of a sex assault on a 14-year-old girl was finally put in prison last week. But who knows who else is in there?
Yeah, you're quite right. And you think Labour is on a suicide mission, choosing to appeal the decision of the court regarding the hotel, because they know that the British public were overjoyed when that court ruling came in to close down the Epping Hotel. And then for the government to try to appeal it, just, I mean...
Makes no sense, does it?
Makes no sense at all. Of course, the bigger issue is, once they leave the hotels, where do they go?
Exactly.
It's only 1/3 of the migrants are actually in hotels. 2/3 are already in these HMOs, houses of multiple occupation. Something like over 70,000 are in HMOs, rather than 30,000 in hotels. And, you know, it's one thing to have all these migrants in a golf course hotel somewhere, but when they're next door to you, when they're across from your daughter's primary school, that's a bigger issue. That's why the idea of camps is so good. I've been talking about this consistently for over 5 years. We need to use camps. When I was raising this, it was beyond the pale. I was extreme for talking about this.
Absolutely.
Now the Labour Party have finally gotten around. Look, after the Second World War, as I've said before, there were 250,000 Polish people in this country. Men, women, children, the elderly. They were housed in Polish resettlement camps. For 10, 15 years. My mother's cousins lived in there for years. They fell in love and they got married in these camps. They weren't complaining. They were happy.
They were happy,
1940s levels conditions for children and women were fine. Why on earth, and now in the 21st century with all our high-tech stuff, are we not having young men of fighting age in these camps?
Same goes for 1956 when the uprising happened in Hungary, when the Russians rolled their tanks in, and loads of Hungarians that I later got to know came and lived in the same kind of settlement camps and worked until they could get work. We're very happy to live there for 5, 6, 7 years.
And for heaven's sake, our young men, our British Armed Forces, they live in camps and barracks. If it's good enough for men of fighting age who are British, why on earth can't these chaps, particularly given that they've come from living conditions which are far harsher than anything we've ever encountered.
I know, absolutely extraordinary stuff. We've got so much to talk about this morning. There's loads of stories in there. Emily Thornberry raising her what you might call ugly crown, trying to get towards becoming the deputy leader of the Labour Party, which is also going to be very, as you can imagine, sort of, I don't know, very unseemly fight between various members and factions of Labour. It's page 8 of the Daily Mail. Dame Emily Thornberry yesterday threw her hat into the ring in what is expected to be a bitter battle to replace Angela Rayner as deputy leader. I mean, and also, you know who the other front runner is for this? Is Louise Haigh. You know, the former convicted fraudster who had to resign as Secretary of State for Transport. She was the first sort of domino to fall back in, I think it was September of last year, about a year ago.
Well, I can't think anyone better to step into Angela Rayner's shoes, can you?
That's a very good point, actually. We'll come back to Rayner as well, because she's going to get another payoff for quitting. Let's have a look at what the BBC did when they wanted to play out the emergency alert from yesterday.
And the idea is there's going to be a 10-second siren sound and your phone is going to vibrate. 2 seconds. Oh,
right. We are right on 3 o'clock. I've got no alerts. My phone's not vibrating.
We're running late.
And I'm not on either of my phones. There you go.
So it should be that phones that are connected to the 4G or 5G network should go off any time now.
It's not just me, is it? It's not just...
Well, it's not going off on my phone either. This could turn out to be some classic television here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say classic exactly, I'd just say dopey. The trouble is, of course, she's now outed herself as a BBC presenter with a burner phone. Why has she got a burner phone? Well, she's running some kind of Breaking Bad operation at home.
Kasha's an old friend of mine. So
all right, you don't have to make fun of her then. But she shouldn't have admitted she's got a burner phone. I think there's another one here. Let's check this out.
2 out of 3 for us.
Well, look, maybe it's the phone. But I know now. I bet it's going to go off when we're doing something. And there you go. This is why we don't bring phones into the studio.
Amazing.
Well, I presume that's not the national emergency tone.
No, I don't want it. You never know, though, do you? Yeah, it was come up. It was done on David Lammy idea. 21 minutes past 6. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo is here. This is Morning Glory. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 6:25 coming up. We've got Rafe Heydel-Mankoo here with us. We've got lots of stories to go through. Pictures as well of Keir Starmer up in Balmoral at the weekend, walking hand in hand with who they describe as Lady Starmer, who's of course his wife. He's holding her hand though, which I always find is a bit weird for people of his age. But anyway, never mind. Let's get a voice note from Steve.
Steve from Barnsley. Morning, Mike. Another eventful weekend with the Labour government, as per usual. And on the medical fronts, I know we've got quite far in being able to replace organs in people's bodies when there's failing organs. Is there any chance a spine could be replaced for this Labour government? Because they are spineless.
They certainly are spineless, but I don't think you're ever going to get anything other than spineless out of Keir Starmer. I mean, the question is, how long does he survive? A lot of people writing at the weekend, Rafe, about how, you know, this is now kind of the beginning of the end for Keir Starmer, because he's lost so many different cabinet members, many of them these women that he was putting in place, and he's basically left with this kind of hollowed-out version of the original Mark I Labour government, and the best he's got is now Rachel Reeves.
Yes, and he's now lurched to the right, bringing back Blairites, the people that we want to see the least of, have been brought back into the fold to try to essentially stop people going over to reform. But of course, that's just going to alienate much more the backbenchers who already feel emboldened and who've already challenged the government in the past. And so now he's
we mentioned Louise Haigh, you know, the woman who was Secretary of State for Transport, had to leave because it turned out she kept reporting phones being stolen, even though they weren't always being stolen. And in fact, one case she actually reported the phone being stolen from the phone that she said had been stolen. So she's not exactly a master criminal, but she had to leave because of a sort of a fraud conviction. But she apparently was quite key as one of the leaders of the revolt against the welfare bill. So she's quite powerful on the left in the backbenches.
Well, this competition now to replace Angela Rayner as what's the role? Leader of the, what do they call it? Her role, which is elected
deputy leader.
Deputy leader of the party. I mean, this is basically the far left's only guaranteed way to keep the feet of the Prime Minister to the fire, and it's going to be an absolute car crash watching this happen now, because also you have to remember Starmer has essentially taken control of the economy as well. He's basically brought into number 10 all of these economic advisors. So if anything goes wrong with the economy, he won't be able to blame Rachel Reeves now as much as he could.
Well, he's
now responsible.
Yeah, he's even hired Darren Jones, who was her kind of second in command at the Treasury, to become his kind of chief secretary, if you like, to the Prime Minister. Here's what he had to say about the reshuffle. I think he's about to say it anyway. We're going to get it shortly. Are we going to get it? No? Any chance? Yes? No? Maybe? All right, we'll come back. Meanwhile, Angela Rayner's getting £17,000, apparently, as a payoff, because this is what happens if you're a cabinet minister. You get a sort of proportionate, they say, you know, basic redundancy payment, effectively. Funnily enough, though, she, only a few months ago, was saying they should do away with these.
Yes, well, let's see. I mean, if she is going to try to, restore her reputation, she needs to give back the 17,000 or refuse to have it at all. Because, in the past, she said, if you are under investigation, you cannot take this money. Right. There's also a pension boost that also comes when you depart like this. So we'll have to wait and see what she does with it.
Yeah. Well, my guess would be she'll take it, because she'll put it towards the 40 grand that she's got to pay. And I presume at the weekend...
there,
yeah, presumably at the weekend, I had this vision of her sort of stomping her bobber boots on the pavement outside Admiralty Arch as they take away all of the stuff that was hers from that Grace and Favour flat that she no longer has access to.
And trying to squeeze it all into that little place in Hove.
Right. Yes. So does that mean that if he's deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy gets the Admiralty Arch gaff?
Yes, absolutely. It goes, you know, there's the Grace and Favour apartments that come with the
lucky old him. Lucky old him.
Yvette Cooper gets Chevening. So yes, they're all moving. It's all basically everyone's moving around.
Happy Socialism Day. How many Grace and Favour mansions can you occupy? Let's have a look. I think we've got Darren Jones now. Let's see it.
But also with our relationships with allies and others around the world, And likewise, Shabana Mahmood, who was the Justice Secretary, who came in and really got a grip of the prisons crisis that we'd inherited. You remember the prisons were full, the justice system had come to a complete standstill. Shabana was able to grip that really difficult issue, to fix it and to get the reforms in to train. We know that she's now going to apply that reforming zeal to tackling issues, for example, on small boats, which of course the public want to see us be able to stop.
Yeah, what an absolute crock of nonsense. How has she solved the prisons crisis? She let 26,000 people out of prison.
I was just going to say, got a grip on it. If that's a grip, I hate to see if she lost control.
I mean, they let 26,000 people out of prison, right? And the prisons are still full.
Yeah, and we've got all those foreigners in our prisons who should have been deported back to where they came from. I mentioned this, you know, we talked up at the Reform Conference about, you know, lawless Britain and why there's a problem. And one of the problems is you can't send anyone to prison. And one of the reasons for that is there's 12,000 foreign prisoners in there who should be being deported. And here's a novel idea. How about you stop, you release all those pensioners and carers who tweeted things perhaps they shouldn't have tweeted.
That would make some room.
You know, and you don't send 5 people to arrest people like Graham Linehan for tweeting whatever they did, right? Rather than releasing domestic abusers, perhaps you should release those people.
That might be better. Front page of Telegraph, on the second day of a tube strike here in London, the unions are now threatening the Prime Minister as well. They're going to fight for Angela Rayner's workers' rights bill, which he's threatening to sort of water down. And you were alluding to this earlier, that there's going to be this battle now between the left and the right of the party as to how they go forward.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge thing because we've got the British Retail Consortium, the Federation of Small Business, all saying, look, if you want to go for growth, and that is the government's new task now, right?
Yeah.
They've brought in all these new Labour types to go for growth. You can't go for growth if you're putting billions of pounds a year of red tape and benefits for employers under Angela Rayner's far-left socialist employment rights bill.
No.
So this is going to come to it's going to come to a crescendo at some point.
It's going to come to a sticky end, isn't it? Because it says here it's going to cost companies likely £5 billion a year, extra red tape and rules that will make it harder for people to be sacked. Which is never a good thing for private business, is it? Because the more rights you give to workers, the more ridiculous. It's not as if we live in Dickensian Britain. It's not like workers don't have any rights. But this means that as soon as you work your first day at a job, you then have all the rights that you would normally have after a period of probation. It's
an appalling piece of legislation, and anybody in their right mind can see how this is basically helping our stagnant economy become even more stagnant.
Yeah.
He's got rid of not only Angela Rayner, but he's also got rid of Justin Madders, who was the Minister for Employment, who actually helped to get that through Parliament. So it does seem to the left as if he wants to change things, and that's why I think this election for deputy leader, they're going to make this one of the main issues that they discuss to try to ensure that this does stay in, and if it does, it will be disastrous for the Labour manifesto pledges to go for growth.
So, I mean, literally on all sides, the Prime Minister is being assailed. You know, assailed from the right, assailed from the left, assailed from the middle, assailed from the Blairites, assailed from the rump of the party, assailed by the unions. You know, he's got nowhere to go.
He's not in a happy place. So whether or not we get a general election in 2027, as Nigel Farage forecasted at the conference, we don't know. But whether Starmer will be leading the party into the general election, I think looks increasingly unlikely.
Yeah, it really does. This one from Margaret in Birmingham says, "Morning, Mike. Message to memo to Shabana Mahmood. 1,097 invaders in 17 boats crossed the channel. No talks, no meetings, no gimmicks. Just stop the bloody boats. Find a deterrent." Well, that would be good. Morning, Mike and Rafe, says Julian. Roll up. It's bonanza time for the people smugglers. Labour are having a 4-year-long closing down sale before the tough new boss Farage slams the gates firmly shut. And you can see that, can't you? Every time Labour say something that they're about to do, the number of people coming on the boats increases, you know, because none of the things that they're offering is a deterrent in any way.
Well, that's it. You need to have a deterrent. Look, I thought there were much better solutions to the Rwanda plan, but the Rwanda plan was at least a deterrent of some sort and some variety. And we saw what happened. As soon as the Rwanda plan came in, literally within that week, migrants began going to the Republic of Ireland, fleeing there from the UK.
Right.
These things do work. If you have one of these one-in, one-out policy where only 50 people a week are going, you just had 1,000 people come over in one day.
And none out.
You know, it's like buying a lottery ticket.
It's 1,000 in, none out. That's the new rule. Absolutely extraordinary. It's coming up to 6:33. How about this from James? Another 4 years. What fun, Mike. When I was reading about the cabinet reshuffle, it made me think of a summer job I had on a pheasant farm. I was at a peasant farm there for a minute. When I was 17, my main duty was shoveling manure from one side of the yard to the other. It's a very good analogy. I like that. Let's get a voice note from Lee.
Lee from Chelmsford. Reset number 3 underway. All he's managed to do is move around a load of failed politicians. We've got David Lammy, who don't know the difference between Red Leicester and Stilton. We've got Jonathan Reynolds, a fake solicitor. He's got to move. And Yvette Cooper and Angela Eagles. Instead of a reset, Mike, we need a general election. All the best.
Yeah, Lee, I think you're absolutely right. That is definitely what we need. I'll tell you what we don't need, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is old Prince Harry back in Britain. Apparently he's come home to do something or other. I'm not quite sure. Rafe will fill us in shortly on that. But apparently he wants to bring his family back to Britain now, even though last time he was here, he said it was too dangerous. This is Talk. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:37. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through until 10 o'clock, of course. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo is here. I've just been checking out Keir Starmer's Twitter account, Rafe, and it might not surprise you to know that he has not tweeted anything at all about Angela Rayner's resignation or indeed the reshuffle and the new appointments of his sparkling new team. But what he has tweeted yesterday was tens of millions of phones successfully sounded across the country during today's emergency alert test. This is an important step in keeping people safe during national emergencies. Well, I haven't actually heard from anyone yet who got it. I haven't spoken to anyone who got it, so I have to ask the audience, if you did get this emergency alert text, by all means let me know. And did it work? Because certainly we just watched the BBC guys not getting it. You didn't get it, I didn't get it. Oh, here it is. Kevin, a bit better late than never. So yeah, it's very, but why tweet about something like that?
Well, it's
a great success.
He tweets about everything all the time. The fact that he hasn't basically tweeted anything about the reshuffle or Angela Rayner speaks volumes. Speaking of tweets, I actually put out a poll on Saturday on my Twitter feed asking who is the worst Prime Minister we've ever had. And Keir Starmer won that.
It's a no-brainer.
Now, my followers, of course, aren't necessarily the most non-partisan, but I think Talk's viewers and my followers are probably pretty much the same. 74. I had 9,000 people reply to my poll. 74% said Keir Starmer, 19% said Tony Blair, 5% Boris Johnson, 3% Liz Truss. So by a huge margin, Keir Starmer is the most loathed politician we've ever had, apparently.
Well, I was speaking, I think it was on Friday, to Anthony Selden, you know, the historian of Number 10 itself, and who's not, shall we say, exactly completely, unpartisan, because he's very much a bit of a Blairite, likes to talk about Labour a lot. But even he had to concede that Keir Starmer has probably had the worst year of any Prime Minister that he could ever remember. You know. And that's being generous.
And this was after we were reassured that the serious people are back in charge.
Yes, the grown-ups.
The grown-ups are there.
By the way, I forgot to mention this story to you earlier. It's in the Times, and this is all about Angela Rayner's boyfriend, one Sam Tarry, who I think is the guy who's on the other end of the dinghy when they were photographed, in the Channel the other day. A solar power client of the lobbying firm employing Angela Rayner's partner has been lauded by Sir Keir Starmer and greenlit for major projects. He's also apparently moved into the music business, where he's about to advise Universal Music on the best way to deal with the government on AI. Right, so this is a guy who's embedded himself literally in the government, not just with Angela Rayner, but with everybody else. Apparently, Island Green Power secured a one-on-one meeting with Michael Shanks, the Renewables Minister, this year, and has won approval from Ed Billamad, the Energy Secretary, for 2 big solar projects. And it was all organised by this guy, Tarry.
Well, I think questions need to be asked. Yeah. I mean, they were so intense in their scrutiny about the PPE scandal with the Tory government and who was having conversations with whom and what the contacts were. Jobs for mates.
Yeah.
I think,
this is a guy who's a former MP himself, former Labour MP, who I think who had to resign because of some scandal or other. And he's now working as an advisor to a lobbying company called Henham Strategy. And these are the sort of people that get you contact with government ministers, get you contracts with government ministers, and he's going to be given, so if you get Sam Tarry on board, he's going to not only get you next to Ed Miliband, but he's probably going to get you some government money.
Well, I think questions need to be asked. That's the job of the Tory party in opposition. I hope they're going to hold them to account just as much as they were held to account by Labour.
Well,
it's the hypocrisy here. That's the thing, you know. Everyone claims to be holier than thou, and they all seem to be up to the same things.
Exactly right. This from Mark Kevin Stropshire. He says, Mike, I didn't hear the emergency alarm. However, I set an alarm for 2:50 p.m, turned off my phone. Also, prior to that, I disabled the emergency alarm in my settings. Coupled with the failings of anything this government does, I was definitely not going to hear that sound. Anne in Hull says she got it. And you're the first person, although congratulations, we have a prize for that, but we haven't. Front page of the Times, how about this? 2 GP surgeries are shutting every single week. I was watching John Healey yesterday on Laura Kunsberg's show, the Defence Secretary, who hasn't been moved, seems to be able to keep his job. And one of the things that he said that was a great achievement is they keep spouting this ridiculous nonsense. 4 million new appointments in the NHS. Yeah, except everybody knows you can't get an appointment. They can make you an appointment and then they cancel it.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
they claim that as an extra appointment. But this is far more, I would say, damaging to Wes Streeting. Basically saying that, you know, so many practices are having to shut down because they can't make any money because of the way that the business works. It's hopeless.
Yeah, 1,000 GP practices have closed since 2018. We've all had this experience now of things getting much worse. It's not just because of population increase, it's also because the number of GP practices are literally falling.
Right.
But as we're closing down so many GP practices, there are now 5 million more registered patients than there were,
right.
And GP numbers are down by more than 600. So each family doctor, if you're wondering, in 2018 they were responsible for 2,000 people. Now they're responsible for more than 2,250 people each.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a law of just inverse squares, isn't it? You can't just keep increasing a number and expect everything to stay the same. It's like putting 1 million more cars on the road, which is pretty much what we've done, and people wonder why there's more traffic jams.
And we know how people going to medical school can't then find placements as well. This is a huge issue.
Yeah, absolutely right. Lots of people saying they did get the emergency alert. This one from Sean in Norfolk. Good morning, Mike. On the emergency alert, I just turned off the setting on my phone. I was in a boozer yesterday and only a few went off. Plus, there are more important things to sort out in the UK. Well, again, what a ridiculous thing for the Prime Minister to put a message out about. You know, millions of people's phones went off yesterday. What a great triumph for the government, you know.
Warning for that tsunami or that earthquake for which we are so famous.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk about Prince Harry, shall we? He's on some of the front pages today, and obviously he's back in the country. I'm not quite sure why he's back in the country, but perhaps you can tell me.
Well, this is essentially Prince Harry trying to get a more positive reception in the UK. So he's been over here recently, but always in a negative scenario.
Yeah.
Coming from, you know, taking his father's government to court, completely unprecedented in royal history.
Yeah.
Now he's coming over for 4 days as a de facto sort of pseudo-royal tour, whereby he'll be going to visit all of the charities that he's patron of over the next 4 days. So today he's going to the World Child Awards in London, which supports kids with serious illness. He's been patron of that for around 17 years. And then he's got other things coming up.
Well, now he doesn't have his charity in Africa anymore.
No, but he's got the Invictus Games, the Diana Award, so he's coming for all of that. The big question, of course, is will he meet with his father?
Yes.
Of course, as you've just been saying, His Majesty is in Scotland at the moment. The King may come down to London for some engagements, but there's been nothing in the diary.
There's nothing
meeting.
in the diary. And also, is it not the case that it's the 3rd anniversary of the Queen, his grandmother's death, which Prince William, I think, is attending something about this week as well?
That's
which,
right.
Which he's not involved in.
Well, that's today. So today he's off to Sunningdale, the Prince of Wales, for a ceremony to mark 3 years since Her late Majesty's death. And in fact, Prince William is busy every single day, conveniently, of Prince Harry's
haven't
visits.
got any time in my schedule to
There's
see
no
it.
time here. And Prince Harry's team says, well, look, this is Harry making himself available. He wants to heal the wounds. Well, nice to say that, but it's not that easy to basically restore trust after everything that he's put the royal family through.
Yeah, you can't just go, I'm ready to heal the wounds now after actually making the wounds.
After I stabbed you.
After I stabbed you, I'm ready now to take to hospital to save your life. I mean, it's ridiculous. Wasn't he also speaking at the weekend in some way, shape or form about how he now would like to bring his family back to Britain? even though he's previously said it's too dangerous for them to come here.
So he's come over solo this time, saying he's prepared to endure the risk of coming over here.
I mean, seriously.
I mean, it's like this is war-torn Somalia or something.
Yeah.
But he won't put his family through all of that. Look, we know, as long as he gives 28 days' notice to the government, they will review his visit and he will receive the necessary level of security that's required.
But he always gets that anyway. I mean, the point is, if he comes on a visit like this, he will have security, you know, as a matter of course, because he's a foreign, you know, considered to be a foreign dignitary now. So it's absolute nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's complete nonsense. And I think, you know, let him, you know, he's made his bed, unfortunately. He has to understand that, you know, there are consequences for all of his actions.
Yes, quite. Let's talk about the Chief of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Mark Rowley, because there was a load of arrests at the weekend, one of those Palestine Action protests. I think it was 850 arrests, which will no doubt put more pressure on the old coffers of Metropolitan Police. But this is sort of following on from not only the appointment of Shabana Mahmood, but also, as you said, of the Graham Linehan situation from last week. He's basically saying police officers should not be required to record or investigate complaints when there is no evidence the suspect intended real-world harm. Well, welcome to the real world, Sir Mark.
Yes, I mean, this is as if they've just realised that, you know, now. We've been saying this for years. It's obvious. You've got the entire world looking upon Britain with, you know, open mouths and disbelief. But, as you know, as I said a couple of days ago, I think the Graham Linehan arrest was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Totally.
Because you even had, you know, champions of cancel culture like Owen Jones saying this was a step too far.
Yeah.
Everyone could see this for what it is. I'm sorry, I don't buy this idea that the police are not able to use common sense now because of legislation.
No.
You know, we know full well they didn't arrest Jo Brand when she said she wanted to throw acid on Nigel Farage. There have been so many cases. We had a Lib Dem politician get essentially put up a picture of a person with a gun shooting a turf. Nothing happened over that.
No.
There's clear selective two-tier policing in play here. I'm glad that he's speaking up and wants to actually change the legislation now, I think, having been embarrassed to this degree. But please, come on, the police do have, well, should have common sense.
And surely, when he says he wants greater discretion for officers, surely he can grant that discretion from as the head of the Metropolitan Police.
And the discretion might be, maybe we don't need to have 5 armed police to go and arrest somebody.
Yes.
When, of course, if something happens to your car or your phone or your house, nobody will show up.
Well, do you know, again, up at the Reform conference, I was doing a panel discussion about, you know, the lawless state of our streets. And as I was walking out of the conference centre in the morning, ran into a couple of people who were obviously coming in. And there were so many people who were having loads of selfies being taken. People were really happy to see us. And this couple said, yeah, well, we're glad that you're going to talk about lawless Britain because we've just had our car stolen. And I went, from where? And they went, that hotel car park over there. As apparently Birmingham is one of the worst places to have a car. As I was talking to a couple of security guys, and they were like, yeah, people get their cars nicked all the time in Birmingham. It's like literally like sort of national pastime.
And when you look at the number of police hours per year spent policing tweets, dealing with on-site stuff, look, you know, police the streets, not the tweets.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple message. In fact, you can even make that into a slogan, Rafe. Perhaps, you know, run for office. Here's one that worries me slightly, and I don't know if I'm taking this the wrong way, as it were, but prostate cancer testing is being carried out in church halls by charities amid concerns that the NHS does not offer enough checks. And it turns out that something like 215,000 individuals, obviously men, have actually been tested more than 350,000 times. I'm not sure that this is something that we should be proud of, is it?
Well, I think getting your prostate checked out is something you should be doing. I think that's
but not by some random character wandering the streets going, come over here and I'll come into this church and I'll test your prostate. And we kind of going, sorry?
With a big smile on his face.
You know, it brings me back to the old Who movie, Tommy, you know, with Uncle Ernie and Keith Moon with his rubber gloves. You just kind of go, crikey. I don't think so, mate. Not on this occasion. Anyway, sorry, maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree.
No, I was just trying to get more... I didn't read the article before, so I was just...
Well, have a read of it, and I'll come back to get your view on it in a moment. Let's get a voice note from Belinda.
Morning, Mike. Belinda here. Glad to see you back. Morning, Rafe, also. Just a question about the severance pay that MPs get when they leave the job. How much is that, and should Angela Rayner be getting this? And also, why is she even being given the privilege of now even being a backbench MP? I don't think she should even be an MP at all now. I think that's it. Kaput. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've done so many things wrong that you've had to resign your cabinet position, at the very least, you should have a by-election, I think, to see whether or not the people in your constituency still want you to represent them.
Well, it's the old idea of recall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because being an elected representative is very different to being a member of the government.
Sure.
So you're a member of parliament,
yes,
member of government. Those are two different roles. You were elected with a mandate, and there has been, of course, discussion about this idea. If you can get enough people within your constituency to sign a petition, and if you can reach a magic number, then they should be forced to by-election.
Right. I think but I think you could also insert a clause into that, which would be that if you have to resign, literally sort of, in shame, which is what she has to do pretty much, then there should be the opportunity for people to have another vote and see if they want to keep you. If they want to keep you, fair enough. But she's on a very, very slim majority. She'd probably lose her seat altogether. And that's a good point. Very well made by Belinda. Thank you very much indeed. One here from Kate in the Wirral. I obviously have all emergency alerts, all and truly off, but I happened to be at the pictures at 3 p.m. yesterday. Not a single person registered that anything was going off on their phones, even on silent. One from Leslie in Norfolk says, Mike, I actually received the phone alarm yesterday. It was about 20 seconds late, though, which is not much use if there's incoming, really, is there? 6:51. Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through until 10 o'clock, of course. Coming up to 5 minutes to 7. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo's been here helping us with the front pages and much else besides. Apparently, though, there's something we haven't managed to point out yet on the cabinet reshuffle. Jonathan Reynolds, the fake solicitor and business secretary, apparently has been moved to chief whip. However, he's the only single cabinet member who has not yet changed his Twitter bio to register that fact. And so, according to that, he's still business secretary. So he can now be officially regarded as the fake business secretary, can he?
Yes, I mean, but it's just so depressing as a whole. It's the same old faces in new roles, you know?
Yeah. It is like, as you say, replacing or moving around the deck chairs on the Titanic. Let's talk about the youth of today. Gen Z, apparently. They're seeking out the calm of National Trust homes because they're so worried about climate anxiety and they really need to get away from social media. They're actually going somewhere.
I mean, look, as a historian, I'm very happy they're going into these places, but gosh, climate anxiety, really? I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. A bit disappointing as well because, I support Restore Trust. Restore Trust is this organisation that's trying to get the woke out of the National Trust.
Yes.
And my only great fear is that with so many of these types of people coming and becoming members of the National Trust, it's only going to get more and more woke.
That's the trouble, isn't it? Because they'll be walking around these stately homes thinking, oh my God, I'm now getting sort of, fears of anxiety over slavery or over the fact that, Rudyard Kipling was not a very nice man. They're
going to need safe spaces in every one of these places as well. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it is quite remarkable, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. Also, there's a trigger warning for Carmen. That's in the Sun today. Apparently, there's a lot of screaming and some scenes of vaping and drinking.
This is so crazy, right? Carmen came out in 1875, right. So for the last 150 years, nobody has worried about this at all. And now they're warning this production contains depictions of domestic violence, sexual assault, murder, sexual nature, alcohol consumption. That's your average episode of EastEnders on BBC One. There's no warning about that. No, so why on earth Carmen needs to have this?
Also, my favourite is sudden loud screams. I mean, if they've been to the opera, these people,
Yeah, isn't that rather the point of the opera?
Well, yeah, exactly right. Absolutely incredible stuff. Meanwhile, talking about the lovely weather that we've been having and the sort of, Indian summer, I'm not even sure you're allowed to say that anymore. Storm Amy is set to come towards the end of the week, bringing 65-mile-per-hour gales, 4 inches of rain and 20-foot waves. Gusts are pushing through in the west tomorrow and battering the rest of the country by Sunday. So, I mean, there's something to look forward to.
Well, hopefully they'll get the National Emergency Text Messaging System fine then to alert us when this is happening.
Oh my goodness me, absolutely brilliant. Well, listen, there's plenty of great stories to talk about. We'll be doing more of it, of course, throughout the course of the rest of the 3 hours that we've got. Daggers says this, Mike, Steve from Ashton-under-Lyne. I got the EM alert on both my personal phone and my work phone. On my personal phone, I received it several times over the last few years. Okay, well, good for you. You'll be very well prepared. And one from Cade in Leiston. Great show, guys. Yes, I did get it on both my work and private phone. It also went off at 3:19 again. On a side note, Labour sucks. Yeah, well, I don't understand why whenever they do these emergency alarms, it just sort of doesn't work. I mean, it works for some people, doesn't work for others. I remember the last time they did it, people were getting it like an hour late. Other people got it twice, other people didn't get it at all.
Well, you know, if I get it 30 seconds too late, there's not enough time to get under my dining table before the nuclear bomb goes off.
Exactly, right. That's the real worry, isn't it? Absolutely. Rafe, thanks very much indeed.